Hello and welcome to a video review of the Dehancer plugin available for both Mac and PC versions of DaVinci Resolve. This video is proudly sponsored by Dehancer, a team of software engineers and programmers that specialise in video and colour grading plugins for the video editing software DaVinci Resolve. A link to the team's website, online store, FAQ pages and installation instructions can be found in the video description box, along with a link to purchase the group's latest Dehancer plugin at a discounted price. Once you have installed the Dehancer plugin, this filter can be found in your software by going to the Effects library inside your Edit window and selecting OpenEffects and scrolling down to the bottom to find the Film Emulation filter options. The Dehancer Pro filter can be selected and dragged to a video clip of your choice on your edit timeline. And the settings for this plugin can be found under Inspector, Effects and OpenEffects. Alternatively, inside your colour window, above your Nodes panel we can find an OpenEffects link, which will present us the same effects library as in the Edit window. Click and drag the Dehancer Pro filter to the adjacent nodes grid. Disconnect your original video clip from the green output symbol on the right hand side of the nodes grid by clicking on the second half of the connection line closest to the green circle, and click and drag your mouse cursor from the green box in the top right corner of your video clip to the top left green arrow of the Dehancer node, and connecting the Dehancer output by the green square to the right to the final colour grading output. Select this Dehancer node to open up the same settings as we saw inside the Edit window. The first settings appear under a section called Input. The options that you choose here will convert the appearance of your video content to resemble footage recorded on specific cameras, determined by the brand, camera model and format options. Brightness levels can be increased or decreased using the Exposure Comp option. The Defringe option reduces chromatic colour spills that are apparent when two contrasting features are adjacent to one another, such as a dark tree and the backlighting from the sky in this example here. These colour fringes tend to be more obvious with close-up or zoomed shots. You can also increase the amount of defringing which goes on using the radius option below. And like with other settings which we will explore in this review, ensure that the enabled box is ticked if you wish to apply these particular settings. A variety of colour, chrome and grain filters can also be applied to your video by selecting a specific film filter from Profile in the second group of settings under the title Film. The Push-Pull function enables the end user of DaVinci Resolve to control the video's contrast by over or underexposing imagery. The plugin also enables the black and white levels to be adjusted under the third set of variables titled Expand. Increasing black points, for example, will strengthen outlines of various features of your video content, as well as enhancing the general darkness levels. Having a white point value lower than the black point one will enhance the brighter areas of your video more. Whilst the colour mode by default is set to normal, you can also add light grayscale touches to your video content by changing the value from normal to luma. The plugin also offers a very convenient way to make individual colour shades stand out more, with a simple set of options underneath Print. Aside from the brightness level, which can be changed using the exposure variable at the top of this particular section, individual colour shades can be made to stand out from one another by increasing the value next to tonal contrast. If you feel that your video clip generally lacks vibrancy in its colours, you can also improve this by increasing the value for colour density, as we do with this particular example, where the blue shade of the computing device stands out more. Alternatively, you can also apply a black and white effect to this particular video by reducing the saturation value. If you feel that the darker shades tend to hide certain details of your video clip, what you can do to reduce the obscurity very slightly is to tick the Analog Range Limiter option, which will add a gentle white grainy effect to the shadow areas of your content. You can increase the presence of certain colour shades on screen using the options under the following header, Colour Head. If you were to enhance the presence of a particular colour such as blue for example, brightness levels can be adjusted using preserve exposure, and the strength of the colour applied can be also altered by adjusting the value for impact. Reducing the value here in this example will decrease the amount of blue shade added to the video clip. For film editors wishing to apply a classical look to their footage, the film grain section contains some helpful features for you. The amount of grain present on screen, for example, can be increased, which also enhances the exposure of your video content, and the grain size can also be increased with the first variable. Decreasing the film resolution applies a gentle blur to your video clip, whilst increasing will enhance the sharpness of the image. You can develop the exposure of your film clip further by increasing the value of shadows and adjusting the tone of the more lighter shades with midtones, or by adjusting the brighter areas of your film grain with highlights, although shadows tends to apply a more significant effect. Adjusting the chroma value will affect the colour strengths throughout your video clip. If I increase the value here for example, we can see that the area around the Christmas decorations is enhanced slightly. And if we decrease this, we can see a gentle dark surrounding on our video clip. In order to demonstrate how the halation options work, I will first zoom into a person walking in the video which I have on screen. Pay attention to the side of the person's coat. If I select Enabled, we can see that the edges have a light blurred red effect added to them. If I increase Source Limiter, the red glowing edges fade away. Increasing smoothness will reduce the blurred spilled effect that you see on these red glows. If I increase Local Diffusion also, we can see that a greater area contains this light red-orange effect. Reducing the background gain reduces the intensity of the glow effect on the side of this person walking. If I zoom out of the video slightly and increase Global Diffusion, the glow effect becomes more intense and almost supernatural. The size of the glow can be increased using Amplify. The blurred glow effect can be reduced by decreasing the hue value, almost applying an RGB glitch effect to your video clip. The blue compensation function enables the end user to reduce the intensity of the light cool backdrop colours in order to make the halation effect stand out more. The higher the blue comp value, the less white the halation glow will contain. Increasing the impact value will enhance the strength of the halation settings that you have applied to your video clip. To maintain the screen presence of your halation settings and hide the rest of your video content, you can also check the mask mode option towards the bottom. The bloom settings offer options to make the brighter areas of your video content more intense, and also enables you to add a fuzzy or hazy effect to these particular sections. With bloom enabled, if we zoom into the video content and increase the highlights value, we can see that the edges of the darker sections of this video clip, such as the buildings here, are lit up slightly. If we decrease Source Limiter, an effect similar to more exposure occurs on the darker areas, such as the sides of the bridge here getting slightly brighter. An increase in details enables the glow to intensify. Increasing the diffusion value spreads out the hazy effect created from the bright blur. And Amplify spreads out the glow further, creating a dream or flashback-esque appearance. If the Save Lights value is decreased, an even bigger glow effect is applied. If I were to click on Mask Mode now, there is a ghostly outline appearing of the city landscape which appears in the video. If I reduce the saturation value, we can see that the goldish colour from the glow has disappeared, and the glow only comprises of a faint white shade. To reduce the significance of the glow effect created in bloom, we can also reduce the value of impact. A vignette is conventionally applied in classical films, where there is a dark shaded surrounding of your video clip. If we enable these settings, we can see that the darkness by default is applied to the sides. Increasing exposure shifts this darkness away, and the brighter areas of your video content become more significant. If we reduce the exposure and modify the size, we can see how a glow effect is applied to your screen content in an almost circular form, with the middle section featuring the most intensely bright content. Increase center X to shift the brightness towards the right, and increase center Y to shift the bright effect towards the top of the screen. Reducing feather decreases the blend between the lighter section and the dark areas. Reducing this completely could result in an inverted effect. If we increase aspect ratio, there is a more vertical application of the brightness effect on your video clip. Decreasing this value, on the other hand, will result in a more horizontal bright presentation with the darker sections at the top and the bottom. The next group of settings under film breadth enable alterations in exposure and colour to be conveyed as the video plays. The lower the period value, the more significant these changes will be. And increasing the exposure adds to the flashing which occurs during these colour transitions, creating an almost glitch effect. However, if we increase the period value to 75 for example, then these alterations in the exposure and colours will be less significant. The gate weave settings enable the end user to apply very gentle shaking effects to the visual content, although these won't be as intense as the camera shake effect filter found in OpenFX in the effects library of DaVinci Resolve. Again, once enabled and modifications are made to translation X and Y, similar shifts in the zooming and panning become obvious. Even a maximum increase in rotation will only result in slight movements of the video content. Again, like with film breadth, the transitions will become more obvious with a low period value, such as 1. Unticking auto zoom will ensure that the video clip remains in its original resolution. Finally, colours can be inverted by ticking in the box under false colour, and the strength of any colour grading that you have applied to your videos, such as the increase in the blue shade here for example, using the colour head settings, can be adjusted using the total impact variable available underneath output. The options that you will have at your disposal with the Dehancer plugin will enable you to create video content suitable for a variety of projects. There are multiple ways to adjust the colour presence on your video clips using this particular plugin, as well as changing the exposure levels, which will make content of your videos more significant and will become easier for the viewer to distinguish. As mentioned previously, there is a link in the video description box which will enable you to purchase the Dehancer plugin at a discount price. I hope that you found this useful and wish you the best of luck with your video editing. Thank you for watching and take care.